Hello everybody and welcome to Mark Goldbridge. And what are we going to talk about today? Well, I'm going to do under over, which is underrated, overrated. Some topics, so I could say Oasis, underrated, overrated. I think they're underrated. I think that the band the Beatles could have been, but we'll talk about that in a bit. And I've always wanted to use that line. It's nicked. But I want to talk about that, and I want to sort of bring it into some topical stuff, because I tell you what, I cannot believe this today. I've got to start off with this today. So I saw this morning, I woke up this morning, checked Twitter, etc., and social media. Then I went online and I saw that there was a scientist or some specialist saying that they're hopeful that there can be a vaccine in the UK for the COVID-19 by September. And I'm like, this is great news, absolutely great news. So I go on social media and I tweet out, imagine how great it would be if the UK are the first people to put a vaccine out there, sit down the haters, and it would be a massive win. That's Brexit. We're going to have a vaccine and not give it anybody else. That's insensitive because thousands of people are dying every day. And you shouldn't use the word W and you shouldn't use the word haters in a tweet. I couldn't believe it. I tweeted it, thought nothing of it, came back to it. I've got people demanding I delete it. You're insensitive, swearing, C word, die yourself, everything. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God, this is... Welcome to Twitter, everybody. Is it underrated or is it overrated? It's massively overrated. People basically stick a stick up their arse and pronounce themselves as the people's prime minister. I've always treated Twitter as somewhere that I just express my opinion. People don't have to agree with it. That's the whole point. But there's loads of people, especially the blue tick brigade, who think... They basically think that they're it. They think that their opinions count, and they don't. If people want to follow you, they do. If they don't, they don't. But don't tell, unless someone's committing a heinous, abusive crime, don't tell someone to delete a tweet. Do you think I sat there and went, thousands of people die every day. I'm going to write a really irresponsible, insensitive, Brexiteer tweet to piss everybody off, because that's just how I'm feeling today when everyone's on lockdown and we're all bloody working hard to try and save lives. It's just idiotic. And this really does wind me up this happened to me, but I've seen it happen to a lot of people. People go looking for the negative thing in something that's not even there. Let's dissect this tweet for a minute. Imagine if the UK were first for a vaccine. Because of what's been in the news this morning, that would be a massive win. Well, it would be a win for everybody because we'd save millions of lives. Haters would have to sit down. Haters being the people who are constantly on social media, which I've been talking about on these videos for weeks, so the evidence is there. You know what I'm talking about. People who are finding a fault in everything. Doom merchants. Oh, they've done it wrong. They've done it wrong. They've done it wrong. They should be doing this. They should be doing that. In all their experience, they think the government and top scientists in the world have got it wrong and they've got it right because they used to edit a newspaper or whoever we're talking about, or they've got a little blue tick. So they're the haters, and that's what I'm referring to. I didn't even vote for Brexit. I'm from a working class background. I'm not a Tory. I'm not middle class. So all these people who are being abusive to me, saying you're a Brexiteer, you voted... just crazy. You're turning my tweet into something you want it to be, because this is the problem. I said this was going to happen 2 weeks ago on Going for Goldbridge. I said all the positivity would be a blip. It would be the novelty would wear off and people would turn on each other. And that's exactly what's happening. You can now tweet something in a positive sense because it was in the news this morning and it would be a massive win for everybody. And all the people in our country, in the UK, who are the haters, there are haters out there. You look at what's trending all the time. Everybody's done it wrong and they would have done it right. Shouldn't have done this, shouldn't have done that. They would have to sit down if our country and our scientists came up with the vaccine first. That was the whole point of the tweet. I don't even get how you can start turning that into an insensitive tweet. I really don't get it. I'm not deleting it. It didn't mean what you think it means, so maybe you should apologise to me. Don't put words into my head that weren't there. Don't tell me to delete something because you've twisted it more times than a bloody plate to make it into a hate thing. Oh, if the UK get the vaccine first, which has been reported this morning in newspapers, it was on the ITV News, that's being pro-UK. That's not a win, apparently. A UK vaccine is not a win for everybody. Apparently that's insensitive to people who are dying having a vaccine. Don't get that one. And haters who've been having a pop at our government and our scientists would have to sit down. That's insensitive as well. I just don't get it. What about all the haters over the last few weeks who've been insensitively saying we should have done this, we should do that, we shouldn't do that? what about all the lives they might have cost if we'd have gone along with their ideas? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But what you've got now is what I also woke up to this morning, and this is why Twitter is overrated and not underrated, because Twitter's full of twats and prats, and I'm one of them sometimes, is that what I saw this morning is a BBC blue tick again, a BBC morning news reporter, basically with pictures of Cheltenham saying, look at this Cheltenham thing 3 weeks ago. People who are dying now may have caught it at Cheltenham. Well, yeah, they might have done. I accept that, but it's sensationalist crap. It's sensationalist crap because people are now trying to say we should have locked down sooner and it would have saved lives. And it may well have done that, but you are a BBC presenter. You are not a top-level scientist and you don't work in the government. So you using Twitter to spread your opinion. When you wake up in the morning and you go, oh, it was Cheltenham a few weeks ago, let me find some pictures, let me put a tweet out to my millions of followers, you brainwash and create doom and unrest in a time when people don't need that. And I've been saying this for weeks. Do I agree with everything that's happened? No. But do I need to start tweeting it out to generate frustration and hate in a time when people are on the edge? No, it's irresponsible. And this is why Twitter is overrated, because people go and get all these millions of followers for different reasons. It could be an album, it could be a football career, it could be an acting career, it could be because you're a celeb gossiper or whatever. And then when they've got their millions of followers or their hundreds of thousands, they start putting out stuff like this, and it influences minds. Now, let me just say this. I mean, I want to do overrated, underrated. We're going to do alcohol and all sorts, and Ricky Gervais and everything in a minute, and Easter, which is interesting. We'll do that in a moment. But what I want to say is this. A lot of people at the moment are saying that we should have locked down earlier. Based on what? Based on what? If I said we should have locked down earlier, what am I basing that on? A bloody hunch. But thousands of my followers might go, yeah, like, retweet, Goldbridge with the win, whatever. There's no basis to that, and all these people who say that we're getting thousands of deaths because of Cheltenham. London has been the hotspot, unfortunately, for this. Did everyone from London go to Cheltenham for the horse racing? I don't know anyone from London who likes horse racing. There will be some people who've gone there, but that's not the reason we've got widespread coronavirus deaths. It's because it's been in this country a lot longer than we realise, and the same thing happened in Italy. What people don't really want to accept is this is unprecedented. It didn't happen last year and then we've made mistakes from last year. This has never happened before. We're going to make mistakes. But you've got the Blue Tick Brigade and everybody else on Twitter who just wants to jump on these things. I mean, I've seen Boris the Butcher trending on Twitter, like when he could have been Boris dead. Like, it's just... that's insensitive to me, because you've got somebody who could have died, and now you're trending with Boris the Butcher because you don't like his decisions. Now, I don't have a problem with people disagreeing with things, because that's the democracy, that's where we live, thankfully, in this country. But why does it have to be Boris the Butcher? Why do we have to be so, vile about everything? Because you're not getting your own way. You didn't win the election. You didn't win the Brexit vote. I didn't win the Brexit vote. I didn't win the election. Am I sat here, moaning about it? I'm going with what the democratic decision is. And also, it's not actually the Conservative government here. We're being led by the science. And look, maybe we were a little bit late on lockdown, but what I would say is this. I would liken this to like a lion, right? There's a lion on the loose, and it's 10 miles away, and it's coming, right? You've got to get everybody inside before that lion gets here, right? But do you get them in too early, and the lion's not going to be here for a while? Or do you try and get them in as late as possible so that the lion's there outside, you can't get in, and you've got people panicking inside for as minimum a time as you can? And I think that's what we tried to do in this country. We tried to get it timed to perfection, where we didn't go too early, and we definitely didn't go too late, because people would have got eaten. And a lot of people were saying, well, we did go too late. But my issue is with this. Look at what's happened to society 3 weeks into lockdown. Everyone's attacking each other. Everyone's fed up. You've got the selfish twats who've never abide with lockdown. They're still out this weekend. It's sunny. They're still out. I've seen them. You've seen them. The news has shown them. They're out down the beach. They're having barbecues. Some people won't abide by it anyway. And you know what? Some would say it would be sweet, sweet justice if those people got ate by the lion. But unfortunately, it's the people who go inside who end up getting eaten by the lion because the people who slip outside when they shouldn't do leave the door open. The lion comes in, grabs a couple of people, we slam the door shut again, and then the next day someone leaves it open again because they've gone for a barbecue and the lion comes in the day. But also, the most important thing with this is, for all those people who are trapped inside from this lion, this virus, you don't want to put them all inside anyway. You don't want. Nobody wants everyone to go inside because you've got criminals, you've got people with mental health, you've got people who don't like each other, you've got abusers. All these people, you are locking them up together in a room, and they're going to still do the things that they would do outside, but they've got free reign to do it all in together. And some of these people can't cope with it. So it's such a simplistic, arrogant point to say we should have locked people down sooner. It is so hard to lock people down. It is so difficult to make that decision against people's mental health. It's such a difficult thing to do. And look, maybe they did get it wrong by a week. Maybe they got it wrong by a few days. Maybe they didn't get it wrong at all. I'm not going to judge it because it's unprecedented times. We've not had this since the war. So everybody who's there going, we should have done this, we should have done that. Oh, look at Cheltenham, look at that. Like they've got a clue. Did you go to university and study all these things that our scientific people who are advising our government did? No. You probably went to journalism college and tapped phones and got famous off that or something stupid. Like, you're not a top scientist. So I would put my trust in them because they know better than me, far more than a lot of these blue tickers who are overrated on Twitter and cause a lot of the problems. Twitter is a place to express your opinion. It is not a place to drive opinion, and it is not a place to create hate. But it is. It does get used for that. And look, for everybody who's going to die of coronavirus, and unfortunately I know people who have, and you know people who have, and more people are going to die of it, and I pray that we do get that win of a vaccine, because it would be a win, wherever it comes from. If it's from the UK, as reported, that would be great. I don't care if it comes from America, China. We can ask those questions later, why it started and they got a vaccine. But, you know, if it comes from China, it comes from China soon. I don't mind, because it will save lives. But have no doubt that this is not as simple as we should have locked down at the start of February, because you're locking people down who are domestic violence abusers, child abusers, criminals, people who just won't be locked down anyway and are out there having their barbecue. It's not working anyway. It's working to a certain extent, but it's only working because people like you and me make it work. There are a lot of people who aren't doing it. There are a lot of people still out working when maybe they shouldn't be out working. There are a lot of people who just ignore it. There are a lot of people who are victims of it, people who are suffered with depression, anxiety. There's loads of bad things about the lockdown that we will never get the figures for. We'll get the figures on people who are dying of coronavirus every day. We won't get the figures on people who are, you know, who are statistics because of the mental health oppression that they get, or the domestic abuse. When will we get those figures? So I just think people just want to find a reason to hate at the moment, and I've seen that today, and I've also been seeing it for weeks, and I warned you about it as well. It's just the way. It's the world we live in. It's the world we live in. Society. You see on a Thursday night when everyone's clapping out on the street. They're the good people, and then you go onto social media and you see the twats who just want to twist things to be negative. Like, you know, they want someone to blame. They want someone to blame. They want this unprecedented virus that is swept through Europe and the whole world. They want to pin it on somebody and say it's their fault that all this death has happened. If they'd locked us down 2 years ago, we never would have happened it. It's bollocks. It's bollocks. And until a top level scientist comes out and says everybody got it wrong and they could have foreseen it, then I ain't going to listen to these blue tick twats. I'm not. And I think that they spread a lot of hate. And I wonder if now, if anybody watches this video, if they scratch the surface and just go for it, hold on for a minute. He's right. He's talking a bit of sense here. Where does all this doom and hate come from? Social media. A lot of them on Twitter, who think that because they've got 1 million followers or 100,000 followers, they think that their opinion counts. Oh, I'm going to get a picture. It's all because of Cheltenham. Bollocks. It's not because of Cheltenham. There might be a few cases coming out of the Cheltenham thing. Of course, maybe that shouldn't have gone ahead. There was a lot of people there, but it was rife already. Not everybody who went to Cheltenham's not the reason we've got this virus. China is the reason we've got this virus, and lots of other things. People flying in from Italy, maybe. You know, people coming over from China. God knows how it came in, but it wasn't because of Cheltenham. So, you know, but the mindset of people, it's like the 5G masts. People want to blame it on something that they don't like. Like that tweet that I put out. Some people don't like me. They might be Arsenal fans or whatever. So they'll twist it and go, look at this. And then some people, and more people who don't like me will go, oh yeah, he's being insensitive. It's just bollocks. It's just twisting shit. Anyway, a little bit more light-hearted stuff. So overrated Twitter. Overrated in relation to opinion because people think they know it all, and they don't. You scratch the surface. I can make a comment. This whole last 10 minutes is comment. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an expert. Somebody might read it and go, actually, statistically, this is this and this and this. And I might read it and go, you know what, you're right. But I don't need to read it off bloody newsreaders from the BBC who just wake up on a Saturday morning and spread absolute bollocks and then create hate. Overrated. Underrated. Another thing that's overrated for me, Easter. It's Easter weekend. I know it's got religious connotations. I wear a cross. I went to a Church of England school. It's just the upbringing I have. You know, I'm not massively religious. I know the Easter story. I've seen Passion of the Christ. It was bloody hell. It was a horrible story and a horrible event. But if I'm absolutely honest, I think Easter as a weekend is a bit overrated to me. It's the vegetables on a Sunday roast. It's Bournemouth at home on your Premier League season fixture list. You know, you look forward to Liverpool, you look forward to Arsenal, you look forward to Chelsea. Bournemouth at home, you're like, you know, it's there. And I've never liked Easter. I've never even Easter eggs. I'm not. I mean, Easter. You know, people will say you're being insensitive to Jesus now. I'm not. I know it because I went to Church of England school. We don't celebrate Easter really for that, unless you go to church and everything. You're not really. People like Easter because they're going to get Easter eggs. It's like Christmas with Santa. It's not about Jesus for a lot of people. I actually like Christmas because I like the carols. I like the Noel. You know, the first Noel and Silent Night, all about Jesus. I mean, Slade and everyone else, they're not bad, but they're more Santa. So yeah, Easter for me is a bit overrated. I've never been a fan of it. It's a bit like the Sunday of a week. You know, I never liked Sundays, which again is a religion. I mean, maybe there's some sort of subconscious religious thing here. I don't know, but yeah, never. For me, Easter is overrated, just like Twitter. Next one. Let me think. What should we do next? Alcohol. Overrated, underrated. I've struggled with this. I mean, some of these things are what people have sent me as well. We're going to do Messi next. Alcohol. Overrated, underrated. It's a difficult one. I think that alcohol is like when you're on your third pint or your fourth pint, you know, when you start to get that buzz and you're in a really good mood. It's the best thing in the world. It's underrated. But then the next morning, when you've got the hangover, it's overrated and it's the worst thing in the world. So it's probably in the middle, alcohol, a little bit. It's a little bit like, I was nearly going to say it's a bit like sex, but no, sex is good. But, you know, sometimes when it's over, you wonder what all the fuss was about, don't you, I suppose. But yeah, alcohol's a weird one for me. I don't like underrated, overrated. Overrated, I think. I think alcohol's overrated. You can have a good time without it. I think I realise that the older I get. I used to drink a lot when I was younger. I mean, not every night, but you know, like every weekend. So yeah, I'd say probably a bit overrated if I'm honest with you on that one. Lionel Messi. I mean, I thought I'd bring a football one. Overrated or underrated? Messi. I would say Messi is. He might even be underrated at the moment because when he retires, I think people will realise how good he is. But then, I mean, the only thing I would say about Messi is he's a bit like the Formula One racer in Monaco, driving around in a Ferrari, getting best lap, and everyone says what a great racer he is. He is. He's brilliant. He's a great racer, Messi, in the football world. He is the best racer in the world, probably. But the difference between a Messi and a Ronaldo is Ronaldo's done it in England, in Italy, in Spain, for Portugal, whereas Messi tends to really just do it in a Barcelona shirt. So whilst he's doing his fast laps in his Ferrari in Monaco in great surroundings, I just wonder, could he do it in choppy Skegness waves on a December night on a pedalo? You know, could he win that race? And he probably could, but we with Messi we only ever see him doing it for Barcelona really, and a little bit for Argentina, but we've not really seen him in the Premier League or Italy or anything like that. But I think ultimately Messi's probably going to be underrated in the modern day, because I think when he retires we'll see how how amazing he is, and Ronaldo as well. So to be fair, I would say Messi's underrated because I don't think we're going to see players like him and Ronaldo for a while after they retire. Go back to this was another one I was asked about. Batman, the Dark Knight trilogy with Christian Bale. Underrated, overrated. If you've not seen it, give it a watch. If you have seen it, I would say I can see both sides of this. It's one of my favourite trilogies, but what I would say is, and it's The Dark Knight, the second one with Heath Ledger, that a lot of people say is overrated, but I know people who say it's their favourite film. I would say, in relation to the whole trilogy, it's the same. They're very good films, and I love the trilogy. But is it the best trilogy ever? No. It's probably overrated as a trilogy, being one of the best trilogies ever. It's very, very good, but I think every film suffers from the same thing. They're probably all 45 minutes to half an hour too long. I think The Dark Knight's a great film, but it's a long watch. And at times, especially towards the end, where they're in that building and he's using the special mask to find them, it lost me a little bit. The same with the first film. I think the whole thing, where he's trying to get out of that, it lost me a little bit. And the same in the third film with Bane. I think actually the third film was the bit with the one in the hole. The first one was where he was, becoming Batman. Again, I just felt a little bit long in all three films. I really, really do like them, but I think if you're saying one of the best trilogies all time, it would be overrated. A very, very good trilogy and one of my favourites, definitely, it is. But I couldn't say that it was underrated because a lot of people talk about it like it's the best thing ever. Ricky Gervais, overrated or underrated? I think Ricky Gervais is underrated. I think it's only because he's comes across as quite arrogant, up himself and believing in himself that some people think he is overrated. But I think he's massively underrated. I mean, look, a lot of what he did was with Stephen Merchant, I accept that, but Afterlife is one of the best things I've seen in the last 10 years, and he's ridiculously clever. If you've not seen Afterlife, the first season, check it out on Netflix. The new season's coming out very soon. But this, to me, somebody who loves comedy, and I think there's been a real lack of good comedy. I grew up with the likes of Only Fools and Horses, The Office, which was written by him, Alan Partridge, loads and loads of great comedies, and we've had a real dearth of that. But to write something that's funny but it's based on death, I thought was really, really clever. I think he's a genius, Ricky Gervais. I know why people find him a little bit irritating, and I'm sure he probably gets that, but massively, he does come across as a massive believer in his own talent, which, obviously works for him because The Office was brilliant, and I know he wrote that with Stephen Merchant. Extras was very good as well. And Afterlife, absolutely just superb. So I think Ricky Gervais is probably underrated. I don't think he gets the credit that he probably deserves. I think actually if people said who's the better person, Peter Kay or Ricky Gervais, a lot of people would say Peter Kay. And I'm not saying that that's not right, but then I look at what Ricky Gervais has done, and again, Ricky Gervais or Steve Coogan, I think what Gervais has done, he's underrated, and I think a lot of it becomes down to his perception. But I think he's absolutely fantastic. I really do. Oasis to me are the band that the Beatles could have been. I mean, look, the Beatles were good. I didn't live through the Beatles, but if you don't know, I think Oasis again are a little bit like Ricky Gervais, in the sense that the whole Noel and Liam thing, they come across as a couple of prats sometimes because of how they behave with each other, and they've got their reasons for that. But as somebody who lived through the prime of Oasis, and as somebody who remembers them when they first came along, remembers all Nebworth, remembers all the albums, I'm a massive Oasis fan. And it's difficult sometimes being a United fan because they're City fans, but your music's different to that. I don't think you just have to like music because they support your club. Oasis were brilliant, and I don't like Wonderwall, and I don't like Don't Look Back in Anger because I think they're too commercial. I think everybody knows those songs, and they're sort of fair weather Oasis fans. But proper Oasis fans, I think you've got your Rocking Chair, you've got your Listen Up, you've got one of my favourite. I think Let's All Make Believe. A lot of people we never will have heard that, and it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And as somebody who played the guitar in that, I know there's a bit of snobbery with Oasis because everyone just says, "Oh, it's just three chords played in a different way. It's ripped from here, there, and everywhere." But I don't listen to an Oasis song and go, "That reminds me of Hey Jude. That reminds me of that." I think Oasis have got their own sound. Whether they should get back together or not, I don't know. But I think there was a time that they were just brilliant, absolutely superb. And to have lived that, I feel privileged. And I think they're probably underrated now because they get known as these arguing brothers and not remembered for the amazing music they had. And I think they are underrated. I think they're underrated. This last one's funny. It's DT. Somebody said, is DT overrated or underrated? Somebody be like, who's DT? Arsenal Fan TV. We've had a bit of a history. Is he overrated or underrated? I'd love to say he's overrated because he's a prat in a hat. But in all seriousness, he's probably a little bit underrated, you know. He's the king of the fan cams. I mean, this is a guy who gets more views on a fan cam than anybody. He gets like 500,000. You know, Arsenal home win against Southampton, 500,000 views. So you can call him a prat in the hat. You can call him anything. But I think when it comes to fan cams, and I think that's his thing, he's probably underrated because he does very, very well. I don't really get it, you know. But I don't get why a lot of people watch me on my match reactions either. So there's probably, in fairness to the lad, there's probably a bit of snobbery around it, you know, because I'm sure some people watch it because they think he's a prat. But 500,000 people, the best fan cammer, the most viewed fan cammer in the world when it comes to football, he's got to be doing something right. So he's probably underrated, really. Easy to laugh at people when you're when you don't get what they're all about. But I mean, at the end of the day, he's a lad talking about the club that he supports after a game, and a lot of people watch him. So I can look past all the shit that we've had in the past and say that in relation to that, very, very successful. And if you could bottle it. And I'm sure he would say if he could bottle it, and I don't mean bottle somebody, I mean, like, you know, put it in a bottle and sell it as a medicine, everyone would take it because he accumulates something that, you know, he's more popular than a Rance when we have him on ours, or a Saeed, or a Troops on theirs. So I know it's a bit of a joke and people wanted me to say something controversial. I mean, look, I'm not really. I think one thing that I would say that's come out of this for me, and I hope it continues when we do go back to normal, is that all the over-the-top sort of reactions and stresses, I hope that they disappear from my life after this, because it's been a very sobering time for everybody. And I've seen a lot, despite the idiots, and they will always be idiots, and we know these idiots are the people that go out and create hate as well on Twitter, and they go out and have a barbecue, whatever. They're all different types of idiots. But I've also seen a lot of compassion, empathy, and coming together, which I think is great. And I hope we can see more of that when we come through this, because we will come through it. And I really do hope as well that I wake up tomorrow morning and there's a story in Ireland saying they're going to have a vaccine in June and it'll be Ireland for the win. Or maybe next week somebody from India will say, a scientist there thinks they could have a vaccine by May. I'll be very surprised if we get a vaccine before the end of the year. But this story this morning in the Times and on ITV News just really made me feel good. So if it comes from the UK, it's the UK with the win, and if it comes from anywhere else, it's them with the win. And all these haters who just seem to, I would never say this because I just can't believe it, but there seems to be, I see a lot of these tweets, these blue tick people and others, and it seems to me that they spend a lot of time thinking of something to tweet to generate frustration and aggression. I think we should do this. We should do this now. And, you know, I really do wish somebody, instead of having to be interviewed by them, could pull them on a show and say, all right then, let's go through your career. You were educated here. You went to college. You worked in a newspaper, then journalism, then you got yourself on TV, then you got a blue tick. Right. Anywhere along there you'd like to tell us why you know how to run a country or your opinion's better than a scientist? No, didn't think so. Piss off. Thanks everyone for watching. Speak to you all soon.